Hi guys, and welcome to Katie's Insight, where I give my insight on all kinds of things, including news, business, finance, entertainment, politics, and most importantly right now, stimulus, the election, and really politics all are married and intertwined because we don't have a government that cares about us. I feel like that's my new, it's not a tagline because tag would be at the end, right? It's my new intro. The government doesn't care about us. I mean, I guess we've always known this, but it's just kind of getting to be, I don't know, situations that are dire. It's hard. Some days it's hard. I feel like this morning I'm slightly frustrated about all of it, right? Typically, I try to remain as positive as I can. I get y'all the information, I giggle through it. And sometimes you just get frustrated. So, but that's okay. That's okay because I'm doing a video that, honestly, I think for a little bit maybe I've put off. These are some of my favorite videos to do, but they're also really draining videos, if that makes sense. And if you saw the title, we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi sounding drunk and lying repeatedly about stimulus. I mean, it's not like I'm giving y'all a revelation, right? It's not like this is all news for anybody. But it is frustrating, I feel like, that we consistently, continually go through this cycle with these people. Hold on. I'm going to put on some lotion. Strawberry pound cake from Bath & Body Works. I can already hear some of the comments. They're going to be like, oh, so they're paying you. Nah. I just like what I like, and that's what's sitting here. Y'all, I just have so much crap from these places. It's awful. I know I've told y'all the story. Oh my God, it smells so good. It smells like strawberry pound cake, as it's supposed to, and like butter, I guess. Okay, it's winter. Everything is so dry, right? Well, let's go ahead and let's get into Nancy Pelosi, and I want to get into the meat and bones of exactly what I'm talking about. So, I'm not going to give a really big overview because you guys following me, watch me, you know the situation. If not, I'll give you all a quick one. Hey, new people, hey. Also, make sure and subscribe and hit notifications so you can see more stuff from me. We can giggle at all these people because I don't know what else to do when they're making us starve. Let's giggle at them. Wait, that's where I'm at. Not saying it's the perfect or right solution. This is just my part I'm trying to contribute to the situation. So, okay, politics. Right now, where we're at with stimulus is a big standstill. It's a fight between the Democrats and the Republicans in the Senate and the Congress. As we know, the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, is at war with Mitch McConnell. He's the leader of the Senate. Now, the Republicans don't want to go far enough to help us and don't want to spend anything. The Democrats want to spend way too much on things that don't really go to help us. Both are evil, both are stubborn, both are awful, both are making us starve. I don't take a side. I hate all of these people. I'm on the side of getting the American people help, as many people around the world help as possible, as long as America is taken first, because to be able to help people, and I get frustrated about this Democratic sentiment, the fake empathy they have. By the way, when I say Democrats, I'm not referring to you wonderful people that are watching. If you lean left, more power to you. If you are left, great. I'm talking about the extremists and the crazies at the top. That's typically not us, just so you're aware, because I rail on the evil Republicans not wanting to help starving children too. But the Democrats, as you guys know, really frustrate me and a lot of other people because a lot of us feel like they have this real fake empathy that they tout around and scream that everybody else should have as well. And for people like me, it's just highly irritating because then we see behind closed doors the things that they really do. For instance, and I'm going to break this down, Nancy Pelosi screams how President Trump is the R word. He's the worst R word, but then backs Biden, who does the 1994 crime bill that put tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of Black people in prison for minor offenses. You know, kind of like modern day slavery. But you know, our society, it's not about your actions. It's about your words and how you present yourself. I would say one of the really crappy things about social media, although there are so many great things to it, is that we have a generation of people now that is all about trying to catch you on something you say that's stupid or take you out of context instead of looking at your actions. And it's all so everybody can get attention because everybody feels entitled to get attention or be famous in some area to where we'll just destroy each other. It's all a really big tit for tat on who's the worst person and how can we get people to pay attention to us to show you who's worse. I hate it. That's why I left certain sides of YouTube a while ago. But I love this side because I love my audience here. Now, where we're at is that Nancy Pelosi has been screaming and calling for the Democrats, for the Republicans. On the Democrat side, she's screaming for the Republicans to get back in here and negotiate. Where we're at with negotiations, as you guys know, the White House behind closed doors was meeting with Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. We'd have Mark Meadows, Mnuchin, sometimes Trump to get a deal done. Where was evil old Mitch McConnell? Oh, he was doing whatever he wants. Never came to one of those meetings. Ever. So I give Nancy a lot of credit and the Democrats when they scream about how evil Mitch McConnell is. Because he is. Again, I don't take a side, y'all. I know people like to think I do, but I don't. So, where are we at now in regard to all of this stuff? Here's where we're at. Finally, Mitch McConnell steps up because Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin takes back $450 billion from the Fed, which you're going to hear referenced in just a minute. He takes that back to give back to the Congress to repurpose for more stimulus help and stimulus bills. And of course, the left have lost their minds. I've done videos about this where they're saying, oh, this is gonna sabotage Joe Biden. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's all lies. It's all lies and propaganda. It's absolutely not. It's factually, unequivocally not. The whole thing was, as I've told you guys, the CARES Act, who Steve Mnuchin helped craft, these programs for the Fed were supposed to run out at the end of this year. All these programs were for December 2020. In fact, I told you guys, and please watch these videos if you want stimulus help. I'm trying to find stimulus help across the country because right now, several states have to spend their CARES Act money before the end of 2020 per how things are written. And we're going to have a lot more states all of a sudden giving out stimulus checks during Christmas time and during December, which is why I have so many videos right now saying December stimulus checks. So make sure and pay attention to all that. And we're trying to cover as many areas as possible when it comes to where we're at with all of that. So here's where we are. Steve Mnuchin then has a fight publicly with the Fed about this. Now, the other thing is these programs that are supposed to help with give people lending didn't help anybody at all except the rich at the top get really cheap or almost free loans. Didn't help anybody. In fact, they barely even touched the funds that Steve Mnuchin set aside. Now, it did help the market stabilize, but only because they announced that it was there. So Steve Mnuchin's taken it back and said, unemployment's about to run out. People are about to be evicted from their homes. Let's help that first. And apparently he's the devil. Doesn't make, guys, like, I'm not one way or the other. I'm just specifically showing you guys it doesn't make any common sense what they're saying and what they're doing. So now Mitch McConnell saw all this money. Of course, evil old Mitch's eyes light up because he loves him some money and nobody else. And he says, I'm ready to come to the table. So he and Mnuchin have had their speakerphones. Hey guys, we're ready, we're ready, we're ready, we're ready. And where are the Democrats? Silent. And in fact, they've been silent for over a week. Surprise. Now, I would assume we're going to hear from them soon, but at the same time, I've been telling you guys this, we are just pawns in their political game. As a result of being their crappy, creepy pawns, I think in this situation, here's where it's headed. I think both sides don't really want to do anything until they know who's going to be president. And I think we're going to see games from both sides. Now, where does this leave us with Nance? Good old Nance. I found a press conference. In fact, her last one. Y'all ready for this? This is from November 20th. This is 10 days ago. And y'all know Nance loves some press and she loves to yell and scream how she is there for the victimized people. Okay, you and your 20 flavors of ice cream, Nance. I'm so tired of these people who scream, they act like they want communism and socialism and how awful everything is and how awful capitalism is. And then yet they completely live the capitalistic lifestyle by taking money, big money, from big interests, right? From lobbyists, and then they have several homes and millions of dollars, and they get all their little grubby hand money into the PPP that was supposed to go for us. It's just so funny to me that Nancy acts like she's for the small people, and yet she's really all for the Fed keeping that money for big business, because that's all it was helping. So I found this press conference. Y'all, not only does she lie, she starts going into these tangents that make no sense. I swear, is it just me or does she sound drunk a lot of times? I've never even been drunk, but I feel like I've seen enough of what drunk people are supposed to look like and act like. I've not really felt it for myself to understand what's going on with her. So I have some information about this. I pulled this up. Now, guys, this is super long, but I'm not going to play it all for you. I tried to condense it as much as I could. Remember, I tried to take out anything that would be a little bit outdated, like they talked about the GSA. If you guys remember the GSA, that is that part of government that basically allows the transition for Biden. So they went into that. That's all been said and done. So anything that's dated, I tried to take out. But there's a lot of really good gems. First of all, this whole press conference just seems like it's an advertisement for the HEROES Act, and it's an advertisement for Joe Biden being president. Although at that point, he'd already won the presidency, says the media. There's just so many silly things about these people, honest to goodness, that just continually don't make sense. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this up for you and you guys can see it for yourself. you're going to hear the advertisements. And then I want you know what? Sound off in the comments. Take tally, take note. How many times she lies? When you hear a lie, let it be known and tell me what you think about it. Now, also, guys, if you don't mind, let me know how the sound is. We tried to fix it last night. So as you guys know, I had to get a new computer. And that means we have to mess with all the settings on things again. And things can be slightly different per a computer. And now I have an adapter to all these buttons. I don't know. Things are changing in technology to where I'm very overwhelmed. I feel like I should be like an 80-year-old grandpa at this stuff. So, hey, greatest generationers, hey, I feel you. This stuff is complicated and I'm too old and too tired to keep up with it. Let me know if the sound is any better because I know like if I get loud, the sound would drop. We're trying to fix it, so let me know. Okay, let's hear Drunk Nance rambles. Coming from me that rambles all the time like a chipmunk. Chipmunk. Take it away, Nance. Chipmunk.
Over 6 months ago, when we passed the HEROES Act, Leader McConnell said, we need a pause. We need a pause. Well, I would hope that for him, the pause can come to an end. Nearly 200,000 people have died during that pause. So we're asking him, come back to the table. A few days ago, Leader Schumer and I sent him a letter, which you've all seen, asking the Republicans to come back to the table to meet the needs of the American people, which they have been willing to ignore. We would like to extend some of the provisions of the CARES Act, which are set to expire at the end of this year. We want to, again, add to that meeting the food needs. Over 17 million children in America are food insecure. And we have a hard time getting to put addressing those food needs into legislation. We must have that. The American people want that. That's part of our value system. Again, let's have help with rental assistance. Okay, have a moratorium, but unless the rent is paid, people are not going to be able to stay in their homes, and their landlords are not going to be able to pay the bank. So this helps everybody. It has become clear in the past 6 months that we needed more PPP to help our small businesses. Let's work that in as we have tightened our belt any number of times in our HEROES Act, and once again a month ago to include PPP. The list goes on, but some of these things about unemployment insurance, food security, stopping evictions, PPP to keep our small businesses thriving. And they have refused to crush the virus. They even admitted they had no intention of controlling it, much less crushing it. It is my hope that with the vaccine, that will give a different perspective across the threshold to say there is a light at the end of the tunnel so that the president and the administration and the Republicans can say, yes, we should follow science in a shorter period of time than we've been through already. If we test, trace, treat, wear masks, social distance, sanitation, recognizing that the hit that this is taking onto communities of color, if we do what is in the HEROES Act in this regard, we'll be ready for the vaccine. So let's hope that it's time for McConnell's pause to end. We have been working on the omnibus bill, and I thought that would be a segue into this. Let's hope that it is. Again, it is curious to see how they are trying to impede progress. And another misguided act of irresponsibility, Secretary Mnuchin has said he would end many critical emergency lending initiatives at the end of the year. Now, why would they do that? Drawing a rare rebuke from the Fed. Fed rarely speaks out. As the Fed said in its statement, it would prefer the full suite of emergency facilities, facilities established during the coronavirus pandemic to continue to serve their important role as a backstop for our still strained and vulnerable economy. The Fed would prefer the full suite of emergency facilities established during the coronavirus pandemic continue to serve their important role as a backdrop for our still strained and vulnerable economy. It's highly unusual for the Fed to comment in that manner on something said by the Secretary of the Treasury. Again, why? Why? Because they want to impede the ability of the next administration to have everything available to them. The situation could not be more dire. The need for action could not be more urgent. Real, meaningful relief is desperately needed. No surprise to anyone, perhaps except Mitch McConnell. The families are losing lives and livelihoods. The hospitals are overwhelmed. The frontline workers are risking their lives and losing their jobs. The parents are unable to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. 17 million children in America are food insecure. And we couldn't even get the food issue into the CARES Act. So we need to get it into the legislation now. Schools are unable to keep students and staff safe. That could happen. All we have to do is follow the science. We know how we can open our economy, open our schools safely, but we have to make a decision to follow science and good governance. Again, this week again, Senator Leader Schumer and I wrote to McConnell demanding that he finally come to the table on a bipartisan, bicameral COVID relief. As we said in the letter that I referenced earlier, the dual public health and economic crisis caused by COVID-19 continue to devastate communities across the country. What is becoming clear to all Americans is that we cannot achieve real economic recovery until we address the expanding public health crisis. The time to act is upon us like never before. The pandemic and the economic recession will not end without our help. Later today, Leader Schumer and I will be visiting President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. We're discussing the lame duck session, the urgency of crushing the virus and easing the pain of this economic crisis, keeping government open, as I referenced earlier, the omnibus bill. We're pleased that our Moving America Forward legislation that we passed in the summer and Build Back Better of Joe Biden are so compatible for creating good-paying jobs, including through investments in infrastructure, manufacturing, workforce development, clean energy. The list goes on and on. We're very proud. Okay, now, you wonder about this. Did you know that House Democrats got nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump? I say that because everybody said, well, what? Everybody turned out, and it was a great victory, a mandate. The most important thing we did 2 years ago was win the House. We won 40 seats, 31 of them in Trump districts, in the most gerrymandered, voter-suppressed political arena you could name. 40 seats, 31 in Trump districts. I said then, it's going to be harder next time because he'll be on the ballot. And it was. And so we will lose a few of those seats, a couple in a Hillary district and a few in his district. But imagine nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump. And people say, well, the Democrats didn't turn out. No, we did. We turned out our votes. In fact, more than 3 million more than the Republicans did. But as I said, again, in the most gerrymandered, voter-suppressed political arena with President Trump on the ballot. So I congratulate them for the seats they won. I congratulate him for the turnout that he created. He got a good vote. I don't have Joe Biden up here. What's he up to now? 78 million? 79 million. 79. But I just wanted to show you how we related to these others. So we need everything. We're a family. We're a big tent in our party. We're proud of everyone in it. The turnout was across the board. We do believe that our House races in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia contributed to those electoral college successes, and across the country to the almost 79 million votes that Joe Biden had. We're very proud of him and Kamala Harris. We're proud of him as a unifier for our country, and we're proud of the big vote that House Democrats contributed to that success. Because so many people were saying, well, this and that and the other. No. We want more, and we will have more, and we've already started that. But I want you to be sure you knew.
And to the second part of that question, I mean, do you see an expanded role for the House in trying to make sure this process goes smoothly, especially as the president continues to refuse to concede?
Yes.
Elaborate?
Well, I'm not one to show my hand, but nonetheless, we're ready. We're ready. Yes, sir.
Between the plots against Governor Whitmer and the two guys who drove up from Virginia to Philadelphia during the counting, do you or other Democrats have concerns that the longer this goes on in terms of Trump challenging the vote and other Republicans saying he should exhaust his legal options and it's still an open question and so on, that raises the prospect for violence?
Well, we all have to know that the President of the United States, his words weigh a ton. They weigh a ton. And people hear things in a way that could encourage some unfortunate situations, as they have done in the state of Michigan. You would think that there would be, on the part of all Republicans, a rejection. Did you see the array of agenda items the Michiganders had? Public execution. Have you seen it? Yeah, so you know how dangerous it is. Burning down the Capitol and not getting, shall we say, told that that's not appropriate in our country, but instead having, God knows how, what's his name? Atlas. Oh my God. Did you see his statements that encourage that, coming right there from the right hand of the President of the United States, saying you've got to have stirred up in the streets and the rest of that. So this is bad behavior, but again, let's try to be unifying. Let's try to be respectful. There is this element in our country. I don't think Donald Trump created it, but I think he fans the flame, and I think that's a dangerous situation. Yes, sir.
Madam Speaker, as you mentioned, businesses are hurting out there, and still
Yes.
There's about 138 million that's allocated in PPP funds that's there, ready, available. Any possibility on releasing some of that money?
Well, that's up to the administration, and that's why we're saying, what is this? And plus, all the other money that Mr. Mnuchin has discretion over, that's for bigger business, but nonetheless, as the Fed has said, so much a part of our economy it's really, that's why I referenced Sandy Hook. Forget about it. That's why I referenced George Floyd. Let's just move on. People are suffering, and if you don't believe in governance, then it's hard. It's easy for you to say we don't really have to do all of these things, and that's what the problem is. But I'm optimistic that we will have bipartisanship to put something together to go forward, because I do believe that many of our colleagues understand what's happening in their districts and to want to make a difference. There's just one big obstacle in the way. In the Senate, it's Mitch McConnell, but the other obstacle, because he's does what President Trump says, and that's President Trump. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As far as those negotiations go right now,
Yes, sir.
who are these active negotiations going on with? Is it House Democrats and Leader McConnell? Is
No,
the White
there are
House
no-
involved? When's the last
No,
time you spoke
no,
with
that's not
Treasury
happening.
Secretary Mnuchin?
Yesterday, there was a meeting of the staff of the four corners. That'd be the House and Senate Democrat and Republican leaders. The anticipation was that it was really about the omnibus. Remember, we have to have an omnibus bill. We must keep government open. That's a very important responsibility during the lame duck. We don't want another continuing resolution. I don't think they do either. So we have an expression yesterday was for the staffs to deal with what we call the ash and trash. Just some of the things that are not up here but need to be resolved so that we can move forward. And that hopefully we would have been able to begin a path to the COVID. That didn't happen, but hopefully it will.
So who do you need to engage with then? Is
Excuse
it
me?
the White House? Is it Leader McConnell?
No, these were the four leaders. Four leaders, yes, ma'am.
Secretary Mnuchin said this morning that he is meeting with Leader McCarthy and Leader McConnell later today to talk about a stimulus deal for COVID relief. Do you have any plans to talk to him upcoming?
Well, he said in his comments that they would be reaching out, but we're asking him to come back to this. We've been sitting at the table for 6 months plus a week, waiting for them to come back. The obstacles have been they do not want to honor our heroes, our state and local workers, our healthcare workers, our teachers, our first responders, our police and fire, our transportation, sanitation, food workers who make our existence possible. They're saying they don't want to do that, and in fact, many of those workers are laid off. They have risked their lives to save lives, and now they must lose their jobs. Many, over 1 million of them have. The other part of that is that the fiscal soundness of our state and local governments is important to the fiscal soundness of our country. So it doesn't make any sense in terms of meeting the needs of people, honoring the work of our heroes, and again, the soundness of our economy. So we have to get something done. And again, they have been resistant on many of the things that we consider priorities. But everybody knows people are hungry. People are fearing eviction. People need the CARES Act provisions to be extended that address unemployment insurance and the rest. I won't go into how they comment on all of that. But the main thing that they have, the two main things, honor our heroes so that the states and local governments can meet the needs that we talked about, hospitalizations and all the rest. It's coronavirus-centric as well as revenue loss because of shutdowns. But this is the most mystifying to me and the most unscientific. They will not decide to crush the virus. My hope is the vaccine will say, okay, there's a path, so let's stop the spread of it while we manufacture more and distribute more of it. That's it.
All right, y'all, let's break this down. I know it was long, but what I have to say is not going to be too super long, but there's just a lot of funny stuff in here. So what you guys did miss is she talked about George Floyd. There are a few things she did mention on, but again, this is mainly about, as you saw, this is an infomercial for the HEROES Act, and well, look, Biden won, which is weird to me. Why would you need to have a chart and go through all those numbers and really try to sell that Biden won if he just won? By the way, that's not me saying I'm one way or the other about the situation. I'm just saying it looks weird. And when things look weird, especially with Nance, I don't trust it. So now this is what she started out with. I didn't say. She says now over 250,000 Americans, as I mentioned, have crossed over and the number is rising. Well, Nancy, it's going to be a whole lot more. And how many people actually go hungry and starve to death in this country and around the world because they don't have adequate food or adequate water? Oh, yeah. The kind of things that we should be passing right now to help people that you won't let go through because you need to bail your state out. Then she says over 6 months ago, when we passed the HEROES Act, here we go, Leader McConnell said, we need to pause. Yeah, and he's evil for that. Completely agreed. Well, I would hope that for him, the pause can come to an end. Nearly 200,000 people have died during that pause. Well, first you said 250,000 and now it's 200,000. I mean, I guess I can understand the rounding up. I'll give her some credit there. Sometimes when it comes to numbers, I can round up or round down, so I get that. Trying to be fair, y'all. So we're asking him, come back to the table. A few days ago, Leader Schumer and I sent him a letter, which you've all seen. I detailed this, asking the Republicans to come back to the table to meet the needs of the American people, which they have been willing to ignore. Well, they did. Nance, and it's been a week and y'all have been silent. They did come back. Oh my gosh, it's almost more fun watching this, knowing what's happened now, like watching it later. We would like to extend some of the provisions of the CARES Act, which are set to expire at the end of this year. We want to again add that meeting the food needs. 17 million children in America are food insecure, and we have a hard time getting to put food, addressing those food needs to legislation. We must have that. The American people want that. That's part of our value system. Again, let's have help with rental assistance, okay? I agree with all of that. I agree with all of it. Have a moratorium, but unless the rent is paid, people are not going to be able to stay in their homes, and their landlords are not going to be able to pay the bank. Agreed. So this helps everybody. It has become clear in the past 6 months that we need PPP to help small businesses. It's funny. She now just starts talking about PPP. They really haven't been that focused on the PPP for a while. That's more the Republicans that have been focused on it. So it's funny because I think the pressure from all the sides is starting to get to her about making a smaller bill, because why else would she be just throwing in the PPP? Let's work together as we have tightened our belt any number of times in our HEROES Act once again months ago to include the PPP. Will you tighten your belt or you included it? Or is she saying that she had to tighten certain areas to include it? So you include, now it's all of a sudden important. It just, again, stuff doesn't make sense. The list goes on and on. But some of those things about unemployment insurance, food insecurity, stopping evictions, PPP to keep our businesses, small businesses thriving, and they have refused to crush the virus. They even admit it. They have no intention of controlling it, much less crushing it. Well, Nancy, it's because you can't really control it. You can do things to try to mitigate it. You can do things to try to put protections in place. But literally, per the science of how this stuff works, you can't stop it and you can't crush it. It just feels like she's selling us a pipe dream because, I don't know, she wants to get money to bail out her state. And I'm not saying, guys, I'm all for PPE. I'm all for let's do everything we can. Washing hands, social distancing, masks. Like, whatever's going to help, I'm all for that. But you even see the warning labels on masks. This won't prevent it. How many people wearing masks that still get it? And I'm not telling you not to do it. What I'm saying is you can't really control it. Or if you really wanted to control it in the way you were, then why doesn't your HEROES Act or HEROES bill have $2,000 to $3,000 a month stimulus checks for everybody so we don't have to leave our homes? Explain it, Nance. And the ones who do have to leave their homes to still go to work to keep us in our homes, why don't they get $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year as hazard pay? Now, they do have some hazard pay in the HEROES Act, but my opinion doesn't go far enough and it's too complicated. It is my hope that with the vaccine now, this will give a different perspective. It will cross a threshold to say there's a light at the end of the tunnel so that the president and the administration and the Republicans can say, yes, we should follow science. In a shorter period of time than we've through already, if we test, trace, treat, wear masks, social distance, sanitation, recognize the hit that this is taking on communities of color, that's another thing. Like, how is it? I don't want to go down blank theory lane, okay? However, we also know in the past our governments have done different things and testing and not very nice things to groups of minorities when it comes to certain illnesses that may be manufactured or engineered. I'm not saying that's the case here. I don't know. What I am saying is I do think it's weird that some of this stuff hits minorities harder. When I say weird, I mean something doesn't smell right. And I don't think the statistics are lying. I think things are kind of unfair to minorities in this. Ooh, revelation, guys. So she says, to say there's a light at the end of the tunnel so the president and the administration and the Republicans can say, yes, we should follow science. Well, if you want to follow science, Nancy, science says you can't crush or control the virus. In a shorter period of time than we've been through already, if we test, trace, treat, wear masks, social distance, sanitation, recognize the hit this is taking on communities of color. If we do that in the HEROES Act in this regard, we'll be ready for the vaccine to have a big effect right from the start. And in light of the vaccine, as we have in the HEROES Act, and perhaps we should do more now because the vaccine is here. It's imminent. That's another thing, guys. I will be very honest, as somebody who has a cracked up immune system and some health issues, I have a real hard time trusting certain things that I just spoke about. Please infer. And I'm not trying to be anti this or pro that. I'm saying I don't trust things because I don't trust these people. And I also know what it's like to be chronically sick in this society and to have people say we're doing this for your benefit when you know they don't care. They haven't cared for years. I don't trust it, and it kind of concerns me. That's it. With that, we should be having the resources to make sure that the vaccine is distributed immediately, equitably, so that everybody has access to it. I think we can all agree with that. In that regard, though, for that to happen, the president must implement the Defense Production Act so that those companies, those entities that are used to this new technology that both Pfizer and Moderna have used can undertake making this vaccine more available, because we're going to need quite a bit for ourselves and for the world, because unless everyone is safe, as I said, no one is safe. Well, I agree, but we have to focus on home first. The Democrats act like they want to care about everybody around the world, but they don't care about the people at home. And that bothers me. Because again, it's the whole concept of, I've said this several times, like your cup has to be running over to be able to give. You don't have a sinking ship and put more people on it. You fix what's sinking, you fix, repair the holes, get the water out, expand your ship, and then let people in. It's just, again, common sense. So let's hope that this time McConnell's pauses come to an end. We have been working on the omnibus bill, and I thought that would be segued into this. Let's hope that it is. Again, it's curious to see how they are trying to impede progress. Well, you're impeding progress, Nancy, because you could be doing shorter bills to help people right now. Because this is the thing. Nancy knows this process of getting a bill with the Republicans being so evil is going to take a while. She knows. She knows it's going to take a while. I've said we'll be lucky if we get an omnibus bill by March. We will be lucky. I could see this going into the late spring, early summer. So we're going to need some different smaller bills, some different smaller stopgaps to pass then for like unemployment that's running out at the end of December. And she still refuses. And I really hope the whole Congress and people keep putting more and more pressure on her. Oh my gosh, was it Wolf Blitzer she did the interview with where she sounded drunk and she was just raging mad and it was hilarious? I hope we get more of those. That's my favorite Nancy, guys. I like those quivers. Like those quivers in Nancy. In another misguided act of irresponsibility, Secretary oh my God, I love this one. And here we go. Secretary Mnuchin has said he would end many critical emergency lending initiatives at the end of the year. Now, why would they do that? She says it all dramatically. Drawing a rare rebuke from the Fed that rarely speaks out. As the Fed said in its statement, it would prefer the full suite of emergency facilities established during the virus pandemic to continue to serve their important role as backstops for our still strained and vulnerable economy. The Fed would prefer the full suite of the emergency facilities established during the virus pandemic to continue to serve their important role as a backdrop for our still strained and vulnerable economy. She repeats it twice. It is highly unusual for the Fed to comment in that manner on something said by the Treasury Secretary. And why? And why? Because they want to impede the ability of the next administration to have everything available to them. Yeah, I hope the comments are going nuts right now, because here is a lie. Misguided act of irresponsibility, she says about Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin said he would end many critical emergency lending initiatives. Those initiatives didn't help the people. They helped you, Nancy, the rich people like you. And he wants to give that to the unemployed. You know, the people you refuse to help right now, because you're not gonna piecemeal this deal unless it's a stopgap to make sure you have money coming in the bank, or unless it's to sway the election in the way that you want with the post office, right, Nance? Oh, it makes me so mad. I get mad because from everything I've seen, Steve Mnuchin seems to be a decent person and a straight shooter, one of the few in all of this situation, and they just keep attacking him. And I don't know, it probably doesn't bother him, but at the same time, you know, it doesn't feel good. So my heart goes out to him because I'm like, I think he's really trying. And then she says, now why would he do that? Because he actually wants to help people. He wants to help people like us get stimulus checks and unemployment and stay in our homes. Unlike you, Nancy, who just wants a big bill and you want everything you want in it and you will let us starve. Because, you know, you're all about science, right? The science of it. Because the science says during a pandemic is the time you should starve and not have nutrition or medicine. Money to buy your medicine. That's exactly what science says. Good job, Nance. Also, is it just me or does it seem like this is a lot of pageantry with a mask? So I also like that she wants to be about science, but it's like, well, Nancy, you, the leader of the Democrats at the top, y'all seem to really pick and choose that science, don't you? It was so great when everybody went out in the streets without their masks and celebrated when Biden won, but it was not a safe situation to go out and vote, right? Even if you were masked up. That's why you had to have the post office there. It's just, and now, how many months did she go without wearing a mask at one of these conferences? Didn't even walk in with one. And all of a sudden, she's wearing one now. Now she's wearing them. Oh, okay, Nancy, I guess over the last few months, the virus mutated and got worse. So before it wasn't as bad where you didn't have to wear a mask, but you criticized everybody else who didn't wear masks. Somebody, Bueller? Any Buellers? And it's so hard to hear her with this thing on. Again, it's just the pageantry of it. So frustrating. So then she says, why would they do that? Drawing a rare rebuke from the Fed, as the Fed said it would prefer the full suite of the emergency facilities. And then she went and she said it like 2 or 3 times, guys. So, okay, let's break that down. The Fed has, I believe, I don't remember the exact number, but they have access to like, it's between 300 to 600 billion of their own emergency money. It's not like they super need this money right now. They already have access to these different funds. And then she's putting out that false narrative. Why would they do this? It's to impede the next administration. No, it's because this is how the CARES Act was written. If that was the case, why is unemployment running out? Well, is unemployment running out, impeding the next administration? No, it's because that's how it was written per the CARES Act. He's following the laws of the CARES Act. That's it. Good Lord. You guys got mad when he first had access to this money saying he's going to spend it on whatever he wants, and he didn't. In fact, he's trying to make sure it goes to the right places, and because he's following the law, you're coming down on it. Again, but it's these liberals at the top. They're illogic. The situation could not be more dire. The need for action could not be more urgent. Real, meaningful relief is desperately needed. No surprise to anyone, perhaps except Mitch McConnell. Well, I don't think it's a surprise. I think he just doesn't care. He just doesn't care that people starve. He's evil. The families are losing lives and livelihoods. The hospitals are overwhelmed. The frontline workers are risking their lives and losing their jobs. The parents are unable to put food on the table and keep a roof over their head. 17 million children in America are food insecure, and we couldn't even get the food issue into the CARES Act. So we need to get it into legislation now. Well, then pass smaller legislation, Nance. Pass it. Piecemeal. What you wouldn't piecemeal before because you piecemealed for other stuff. Schools aren't able to keep students and staff safe. That could happen. All we have to do is follow the science. We now know how we can open our economy, open our schools safely, but we have to make decisions to follow the science and good government. Well, the science only when it benefits you, right? Because all those months you didn't have a mask on. What was it, from March until August, September? I think it was around October you started doing this mask pageantry. I guess, wasn't that big a deal then. Just makes, again, it's guys, I hope you understand, it's the hypocrisy that makes me mad, okay? I'm not talking about the concepts, it's the hypocrisy. So, she says, again this week, Senator Schumer and I wrote a letter to McConnell demanding that he finally come to the table to bipartisan, bicameral virus relief. And he been silent. As we said, the letter that I referenced earlier, the dual public health and economic crisis caused by the virus continues to devastate communities across the country. What is becoming clear to all Americans is that we cannot achieve real economic recovery until we address the expanding public health crisis. The time to act is upon us like never before. The pandemic and the economic recession will not end without our help. Well, yes, but again, Nancy, he did come to the table, and you guys have been dead flipping silent, of course. Later today, Leader Schumer and I will be visiting President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. We will be discussing the lame duck session, the urgency of crushing the virus and easing the pain and the economic crisis, keeping the government open, as I referenced earlier, the omnibus bill. We are pleased that moving forward, moving America forward legislation that we passed in the summer and the Build Back Better of Joe Biden are so compatible for creating good paying jobs, including investments in infrastructure, manufacturing, workforce development, clean energy, the list goes on and on. Okay, great. We are very proud. Okay, now you wonder about this. Did you know that the House Democrats, then she pulls out the chart of Biden winning. Oh, it's painful. It's so painfully awkward. And we're going to get to questions in a second. This is where it's going to get really interesting. So stay put. I know it's a bit long, but this is going to be fun. She says, did you know that House Democrats got nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump? Ooh. I say that because everybody said, well, everybody turned out. And it was a great victory, a mandate. The most important thing we did 2 years ago was win the House. We won 40 seats, 31 of them in Trump districts, in the most gerrymandered, voter-suppressed political arenas you could name. 40 seats and 31 Trump districts. I said then, it's going to be harder next time because he'll be on the ballot. And it was. And so we'll lose a few of those seats, a couple in Hillary districts and a few in his district. But imagine, and it's so funny, she keeps pointing to this thing. It's like she's just trying so hard to sell this story that he won, even though it hasn't been declared yet. But imagine nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump, and people say, well, the Democrats didn't turn out. No, we did. We turned out our votes. In fact, more than 3 million, more than the Republicans did. But as I said, again, is the most gerrymandered, voter-suppressed political arena with President Trump on the ballot. So I congratulate them for the seats they won. I congratulate him for the turnout he created. He got a good vote. I didn't have Joe Biden up here. What is he up to now? 78 million? Staff says 79, and she says 79 million. But I just want to show you how related to these others. So we need everything. Well, we need some things right now while you take forever to do everything between you and evil Republicans, Nancy. First time we were a big tent in our party. We are proud of it. We are proud of everyone in it. The turnout was across the board. We do believe that our House races in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia contributed to those electoral college successes and across the country to almost 79 million votes that Joe Biden had. She's not really mentioning that things aren't over. I'm not even gonna get into it at this point because those videos YouTube really doesn't like, but things aren't over. That's all I'm saying. And she says, we're proud of him and Kamala Harris. We're proud of him as a unifier for our country, and we're proud of the big vote that House Democrats contributed to that success because so many people were saying, well, this and that and the other. No, we want more and we will have more. And we already started that, but I wanted you to be sure you knew nearly 2 million more votes than Donald Trump. Doesn't sound very secure in that. So then they talk about the GSA, like I went over again. And then they also talked about the role of the president conceding. So honestly, I'm not going to get into any of that. But, and then she also, and this one's really interesting, I do want to bring up. So again, we're almost done, but here's one of the questions. It says, between the plot against Governor Whitmer and the two guys who drove up from Virginia to Philadelphia during the counting, do you or other Democrats have concerns that the longer that this goes on in terms of Trump challenging the votes and other Republicans saying he should exhaust his legal options, it is still an open question, and so on? Should that raise the prospect for, let's say, people inflicting harm and not being nice, a word that YouTube doesn't like? Pelosi says, well, we all have to know that the President of the United States, his words weigh a ton. They weigh a ton. And people hear things in a way that could encourage some unfortunate situations, as they've done in the state of Michigan. I want to break down why this is really rich coming from her. You would think that there would be a part of the Republicans that would be a rejection. Did you see any array of agenda items in the Michiganders' hands? Public execution. Have you seen it? So you know how not safe it is. Burning down the Capitol and not getting, shall we say, toll. That's not appropriate in our country. Wow. This is coming from the same people who congratulate the groups that they call themselves anti-fascists. I don't even know if I can say the words on YouTube anymore, that run around and they took over, Shaz in Seattle. They tried to take over parts of Seattle. They didn't allow the police to come. Few people died. You know, women had bad things happen to them and nobody would come to help. And it's the same as what was at Portland, Oregon, where they tried to burn down a police building with police in there. Look, I get it. Things need to change. And I'm all for that. I'm not saying that. But I think it's funny because it's like, no, you actually are completely okay with people doing harm for your agenda. But the other way, you keep saying that the Trump people are just these horrible people who just keep trying to inflict harm. Where? By the way, and now I understand the extremists, right? The white Caucasian extremist people who don't like minorities. I get it. I get that exists. I'm not trying to say that. But I'm saying a bigger and bigger group is the anti-fascists. And they are the ones actually causing havoc and destruction you guys cheer and applaud on. And really, in my opinion, those people are just making things worse in our country for minorities. They're just making it worse. It's not helping. And we need to help minorities. We need to get people out of poverty. I feel like, again, I keep saying this, the real fight we have in this world is about poverty. So if we can help get people out of poverty and get everybody on a financial, even playing field, and I don't mean socialism or communism where you keep them there, you allow them to be able to grow, but at least get them out of poverty. A lot of these issues disappear. And the fact that we have systems to keep them in poverty is criminal, in my opinion. So then she says, but instead having God knows how, what's his name? Atlas. Oh my God, did you see his statement that encouraged that coming right there from the right hand of the President of the United States saying you've got to have stirred up in the streets and the rest of that? I'll be honest, I don't know what Atlas is. I don't know. Sound off in the comments. I don't know what she's talking about there. Just going to be honest. You guys know if I don't know something, I'm going to try to tell you. I'm not one of those people that tries to act like I know it all about everything. It's weird though. I do think sometimes I come across super confident and like I'm super sure of myself a lot of times, even times when maybe I'm not. And that's a quirk that's, I guess, a flaw of mine I have to work on. I don't know. And I don't know why I do that. Don't you hate that when you come across certain ways that you don't mean to or don't realize that you do? Takes a while of undoing just bad habits or whatever. Then where'd you pick up the bad habits? Like, I hate that, the existentialism of it all. So then she says, so this is bad behavior. But again, let's be unifying, unless the bad behavior is for you, Nance. Let's try to be respectful. There's an element in our country. I don't think Donald Trump created it, but I think he has fanned the flames. And I think that is a not safe situation. Okay, Nance. So then it says, a question. Madam Speakers, you've mentioned businesses are hurting out there. She says, yes. Actually, I do want to say to her credit, I know at a lot of those rallies, Trump would say to some of the people coming in there to stir things up, he would say, punch him in the face. And he would do those things and rile up the crowd. I'm not for that at all. Now, Trump would argue and say I was joking. And although I understand, let's entertain the idea maybe he was, that's still irresponsible to say in his position. I'm not saying, I don't defend everything he's done. I don't like everything he's done. That's why I'm not a Trump supporter. But I am saying I think it's very, very rich what she's talking about, because this is more than maybe a scuffle or two at an event where Trump is speaking stupidly. This is her literally getting behind groups that do horrible things that have spread across the country, and she's fine with it, all while condemning Republicans who've done next to nothing, unless they're the extremists that are mean. I don't like those either. So it says, Madam Speakers, you mentioned businesses are being hurt. She says, yes. This is my favorite. I talked about this in another video. And still, there's about 138 million that's allocated in PPP funds. That's there, ready, available. Any possibility on releasing some of that money? Here she goes. Pelosi. Well, that's up to the administration. And that's why we're saying, what is this? And plus, that's all the other money that Mr. Mnuchin has discretion over. That's for bigger business. But nonetheless, as the Fed has said, so much a part of our economy that's why I referenced to Sandy Hook. Forget about it. That's why I referenced to George Floyd. Let's move on. People are suffering, and if you don't believe in government, then it's hard. It's easy for you to say we don't really have to do all of these things. And that's what the problem is. But I'm optimistic that we have bipartisanship to put something together to go forward, because I do believe that many of our colleagues understand what's happening in their districts and want to make a difference. What? This is my favorite thing. I'm going to read this again for y'all because it makes me so happy. Madam Speakers, you mentioned businesses are being hurt. And still there's about 138 million that's allocated in PPP. I think it's billion actually. That's allocated in PPP funds. That's there, ready and available. Any possibility on releasing some of that money? The answer to that is no, because that money was allocated to the PPP. Trump has already tried to allocate money places, which is why when he did the executive orders, he was able to find ways to take it from FEMA. He had a very difficult time finding any loopholes to take it from the CARES Act per the way the CARES Act was written by the law. In fact, our report said the Treasury and his lawyers said, we've looked into it. There's no way you can just reallocate funds. So it's a reporter who's uninformed asking a question he doesn't understand, and that's fine. You know, reporters are supposed to, I'm not even knocking the reporters so much. They're supposed to ask questions, and they don't have to be experts at everything. That's why they're asking the questions, okay? But then she says it's up to the administration, and that's why we're saying, what is this? No! She is either like scarily uninformed about all this, or she's just bold-faced lying. I think it could be both, knowing her. And she says, and we're saying, what is this? And plus all the other money that Mnuchin has discretion over, that's for bigger business. What does that have to do with anything? He's following the law. You know, the same thing that you say the Republicans aren't doing, even though they're doing, even though the people that you get behind are the ones that are really causing harm in society. Do you see this? These videos are fun, but they're draining. It's just like all those gossipy women that people end up hating. I feel like she's part of those types of people. It's just so draining. It's just tear your reputation down and try to isolate you in society. You know what bothers me? That's a form of the A word. Please infer, because I don't want to say the word. To me, it's a form of extreme hurt that you're inflicting on somebody, because we are social creatures and we rely on being social to help stay alive and function. And so to isolate yourself completely from a group like that, It's an extreme form of hurt that it causes on a person, not just emotionally, but to their life, to their livelihood. So, oh my gosh, it just drives me nuts. And then, okay, so she says, and plus the other money Mr. Nation has discretion over, that's for bigger business. What does that have to do with anything? But nonetheless, as the Fed has said, so much a part of our economy, that's why I referenced Sandy Hook. Why? Now, in earlier, what I didn't show you was she did have a couple references to Sandy Hook, but what is this? What does this have question to do with Sandy Hook? And then she says, forget about it. Forget about what? She says, that's why I referenced George Floyd. Let's move on. What does George Floyd have to do with you saying that the White House can do whatever they want with the PPP money? What? What does Sandy Hook have to do with that? And then she says, people are suffering. If you don't believe it in the government, then it's hard. It's easy. I don't think anybody there has said they don't believe people are suffering. I don't even think that Republicans say people aren't suffering. They just don't care that they're not suffering. Because like I call them the evil Republicans for a reason. She says, and if you don't believe in government, then it's hard. It's easy for you to say we don't really have to do any of these things. And that's what the problem is. I don't understand her. But I am optimistic that we will have bipartisanship to put something together, go forward. I do believe that many of our colleagues understand what's happening in the districts and want to make a difference. So basically, she just gave you a bunch of lies. She said it's up to the administration what they do with the PPP money. She says it's going to hurt Joe Biden. Earlier, she said it'll hurt Joe Biden to take those funds away. She says those funds are helping business. They're not. It's helping big business. And then she says, well, all the other money Mr. Mnuchin has discretion over, that's for bigger. What does that matter? He's not taking back this money for his own discretionary purposes. He's giving it back to the Congress. Quit lying, Nance. And I feel like for people who aren't experts at this, or I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I follow this all the time, I'm able to see what's going on and catch her in her lies. Person asks any timeline, she says, there's just one big obstacle in the way. It's the Senate. It is Mitch McConnell. But the other obstacle, because he does what the President Trump says, and that's President Trump. I'd love the proof, because McConnell seems to follow his own agenda. He seems to kind of not give an ASS about anything else. ASS. He doesn't give a what? How should I spell that? I'm not even going to spell it out. He doesn't give an ASS. It doesn't make any sense. He doesn't give a flip. There we go. I miss being a sailor, y'all. You don't know. I'm so creative with curse words. I'm very proud of myself about that. Y'all don't know. You don't know that side of me. So then it says, as far as the negotiations go right now, who are these active negotiations ongoing with? Is it the House, the Democrats, Leader McConnell? She says, no, there are none. Well, they're trying now and you won't answer the phone. Because it's the White House. Pelosi says, no, that's not happening. Yesterday, there was a meeting of the staff of the Four Corners. That would be the House Democrats, Republican leaders. The anticipation was that it was really about the omnibus. Remember, we have to have an omnibus bill. We must keep the government open. That's a very important responsibility during the lame duck. We don't want another continuing resolution. I don't think they do either. Well, funny, because that's what's coming, and Trump may not sign it. Now, I don't want people losing their jobs, but I think we'd all get a fun little chuckle knowing that none of those people at the top are getting paid. Not that we want more people to suffer at the bottom, because that's always what happens, but why should the people at the top get a paycheck at this point? So she says, so we have an expression. Yesterday was for the staffs to deal with what they call the ash and the trash. They are just some of the things that are not up here, but need to be resolved so we can move forward. And then hopefully we would have been able to begin a path to the virus. That didn't happen, but hopefully it will. So somebody says, so who did you meet? She says, excuse me? They said, is it the White House? Is it Leader McConnell? She says, no, these were 4 leaders. 4 leaders. Well, she just said the leader of the Republicans would be McConnell. Again, we lying, Nance? What are we doing here? Now, last one, and we're almost done. Says, Secretary Mnuchin said this morning that he is meeting with Leader McCarthy and Leader McConnell today to directly talk about a stimulus deal for the virus. Do you have any plans to talk with them upcoming? Cara! Here she goes. Well, he said in his comments that they'd be reaching out, but we're asking him to come back to the table. Well, he is. So when are you? Pick up the phone and call him. Yuck. God. We've been sitting at the table for 6 months plus a week waiting for them to come back. The obstacles have been they do not want to honor our heroes, our state and local workers, our healthcare workers, our teachers, our police and our fire, our transportation, sanitation, food workers to make our existence possible. They are saying they don't want to do that. And in fact, many of these workers are laid off. They have risked their lives to save lives, and now they may lose their jobs. Over 1 million of them have. These people barely made squat before, and now you suddenly care about them. Okay, Nance. The other part of that is that the fiscal soundness of our state and local governments is important to the fiscal soundness of our country. So it doesn't make any sense in terms of meeting the needs of the people, honoring the work of our heroes, and again, of the soundness of our economy. So we'll have to get something done. And again, they have some resistance, or they have resistant on, it literally says, and again, they have, I'm reading it wrong. And again, they've been resistant on many things that we consider priorities. But everybody knows people are hungry, people are fearing evictions, people need the CARES Act provisions to be extended that address unemployment, insurance, and the rest. I won't go into how they comment on all of that. But the main thing is that they have the two things. Honor our heroes, so the state and local governments can meet the needs that we talked about, hospitalizations, and the rest. It is virus-centric, as well as revenue loss because of shutdowns. But this is the most mystifying to me and the most unscientific, they will not decide to crush the virus. My hope is the vaccine will say, okay, there's a path. So let's stop the spread of it while we manufacture and distribute more. I'm tired. Y'all tired? I'm legitimately tired from filming this video. I'm gonna end it here because you guys just heard a load of horse crap I wanted to break down. This is why I don't trust any of these people, guys. If you like this video, please help me out and give me a big thumbs up. Like this video, subscribe, hit notifications so you can be notified what's coming in the pipeline for you and your stimulus money. Also, sound up in the comments. Y'all know I want to hear everything you have to say. And guys, please share this content with as many people as you know you're struggling right now. People on unemployment, waiting for unemployment, stimulus checks, SB loan and grant issues, everything in between. I've got tons of tools and tons of resources to help you during this very difficult time, and I would love nothing more than to do just that. And guys, the more you like, subscribe, comment, hit notifications, share the content, the more my channel grows, the more things I can do to get back to you guys. So for instance, $100 gift card giveaway, very simple. This is all you have to do to be eligible. Like every video you see, subscribe, hit notifications, comment, share the content, boom, you're entered, you're eligible. That's all you have to do. Make sure and do it for every video. And guys, make sure that you leave many comments, because the new rule is the more comments you leave, the more chances you have to win. If you leave 100 extra comments, you have 100 times more chance to win. Yay, good luck. I want to help as many people as I possibly can, so make sure you do that. Find me on Facebook, Katie's Insight. Like the page, join the group. Katie's Corner will be changed to Katie's Insight soon. Go there, ask all the stimulus questions you want. We're helping people on a more one-on-one basis with all their stimulus issues and their stimulus needs. So if you have issues in your area, we're helping people for free, just because we all need to help each other. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and take care of things on my end and continue making videos for today. This has been Katie, and thank you so much for listening to my insight on things. Take care, blessings. I'm so grateful that you have all allowed me to do this job, and I will continue to work on your behalf. Hugs, mwah, and kisses. Bye, guys.